out there. It's been an interesting world trying to find an investment product that doesn't seem to be going down at times.
Yeah.
And this is certainly a way for them to get some exposure to that sector. And there may well be some institutional interest as well. I think
there would?
Will come down, I think, to how the sums add up on the returns for them compared to some of the alternatives.
Yeah, and I guess we've got a little way to go yet as to evaluating any risk involved for potential investors.
Yes, there is that. I think one important point for dairy, though, is that the long-term prospects do look pretty bright, and that is partly that Asia story and that China story as well. So we know the world's going to want to eat more dairy products. So
yeah, it's a question, I guess, of how much Fonterra can expand here domestically. Maybe it's got to really, if it's going to be expanding the way it would like to, particularly with the extra capital they would hope to raise, that they'll simply have to produce their milk overseas. That we're running out of room for more cows, surely.
Well, we have actually seen, I mean, the trend that for Fonterra, if you look at a lot of their activity, has been they have been bit by bit expanding overseas into other areas, and I think we will see that continue. I think for Fonterra Inc. and New Zealand Inc., at the moment we've got a lot of dominance in that global sort of dairy trade, and we do want to continue that, and that may mean sourcing product from other countries. So I think we will see the ongoing expansion overseas as well as here.
Because there must be questions about how much more production can be squeezed out of New Zealand in terms
exactly.
of the environment, in terms of water usage.
Well, look at Canterbury.
Yeah.
Look at the pollution on the Waikato River. There's got to be a
getting
limit.
to the point you would think where it's getting difficult to get huge production gains. Although the MAF is predicting quite a big upswing following the drought, obviously.
They are, aren't they?
So I mean, you certainly couldn't doubt dairy farmers' efficiencies in New Zealand.
Now, Corin, with you, can I just go back to the Crayford Farm sale saga and Amy Wang? What we didn't touch on was the fact that Amy Wang, in fact, has some pretty serious problems on her plate at the moment, and you wonder just how that's going to impact. I mean, she owes $22 million, and as I understand it, has offered only $500,000 to her creditors. That's pretty serious for her. She's just been up in court a couple of days ago on Commerce Act charges. One of those, I think, was failing to attend a creditors' meeting. So she's got some pretty serious
I mean, it
obstacles.
is a big issue for that group and what they're trying to do. I mean, my understanding was she was pretty instrumental in actually getting this whole thing off the ground.
Yeah.
And so that's, but it is clearly a problem because it is making the management issues a big focus of concern for, I know some in the farming community are concerned about, well, who are these people? Are they going to be able to manage these assets properly?
Exactly.
That's the issue, whether the management is going to be of high quality. And so with May Wang in court, then, on these other completely unrelated issues, that is obviously drawing some attention to her.
Yeah.
So that, I guess, is a concern. I mean, I'm interested in the bigger picture here too, in terms of the investment in New Zealand dairy and that whole chain, that whole process right through about whether the investment is just coming in for land, whether there is also the milk processing aspect as well. And that's obviously the threat to Fonterra.
Yeah, they seem to want to have a vertically
and that is the key here. They want to be part of the
operation.
whole process, and that's an interesting thing. And I mean, just taking that big picture a little bit further, I mean, we've got a visit from the Chinese Vice President, I think, in New Zealand over the next few days. I mean, we need more overseas investment, there's no doubt about it. China is going to be a big player in that. So it raises all sorts of issues, in terms of, how these things are going to be, how New Zealand progresses forward in terms of accepting more investment. Some people often fear overseas investment, but when we've got $180 billion of external liabilities, we don't have much choice in the matter.
Exactly.
I don't think we can be that picky, can we? Where our investment comes from.
I'd say we don't have that much savings of our own. I mean, New Zealand has been reliant for it's a good 100 years on foreign capital, so it is that challenge.
Dr. Bollard's banging on about our debt levels, so let's hope a few people are listening to him. Now, very briefly, gentlemen, Corin first, what's in store over the next week? Any predictions?
There's a few things to watch out for reads on the New Zealand economy. I've got consumer confidence figures coming out over the next couple of days. That's quite an interesting one too, because we've had Dr. Bollard and others we've also talking about consumers being a bit flat, not really getting out and spending. So it'll be interesting to see whether how they are feeling. I think that'll be quite interesting. And then some GDP figures out, I think, for the March quarter next week as well. And then leading up, of course, to the ETS. July 1 is the one that I'm watching
That's a
for.
biggie.
Wouldn't mind betting and we see a few farmers on the steps of Parliament and tractors by then.
And Nick, any predictions from you for the coming week?
Just some added things to watch out for. We've got our own current account coming out, so one story is the household's been looking pretty flat and soft. The current account is where, hopefully, over time, we're going to see that change where our export earnings are picking up. So something to keep an eye out. It's linked into the external liabilities. A lot of, I think, the economic news over the next week, we're going to see a lot of data coming out of the US. So there will be quite a bit of an offshore focus on that data flow. And of course, the sort of night by night, how's Europe going? Is it happy? Is it sad? And that's causing a lot of volatility at the moment. And we've just got to live with that.
Well, that's all we've got time for today, unfortunately. But thanks to my guests, ASB Chief Economist Nick Tuffley and NZI Business Presenter Corin Dann. Now, we would love to hear your feedback, so please go to our website and drop us a line. And in some exciting news, Country 99 TV is going free to air for all Sky subscribers during field days until Sunday, the 20th of June. So do make sure you let your friends and communities know about us. We'll see you next week. Ka kite anō.